Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Zoids review. This time I'm going to be talking about a brand new product line first released here in 2025 that I've never talked about before. This is the Takara Tomy T-Spark Realize Model Kit Series Hellcat. And so the story behind this is that Takara Tomy is doing a couple of brand new Zoids lines essentially, and they have their own proprietary brand label called T-Spark, and I'm not really sure what the theming is behind that. But the Realized Model series is a series of detailed, articulated Zoids model kit figures that are similar in build style to the HMM line and the Modeler Spirit series line in terms of, they are complex to build and they have a lot of pieces and they don't have motors, they are articulated. But this is a more budget friendly and more accessible product line than the Kotobukiya high-end master models. They are also 1/100th scale, so they are a bit smaller than the HMMs and the motorized kits from the past, which were 1/72nd scale, but they are a little bit bigger than the Modeler Spirit series, which were 1/144th scale. And due to the prevalence of these, they've been pretty easy to come by, in spite of fears about the tariffs and that kind of thing here in the U.S. They've been pretty easy to find. Lots of hobby stores and retail booths at conventions and things like that have had these guys, and you're still able to import them from AmiAmi and other websites. They are quite a bit cheaper. Some of these range between the $30 to $50 mark instead of the $50 to $80 mark for the HMMs in some cases, sometimes more, and that's before you factor in international shipping and things like that. So this line I do find to be quite appealing. Now, I probably won't be getting a ton of these because I'm running out of room in my collection, and they also don't scale particularly well next to existing Zoids from the previous lines that are 1/172nd scale, because they are a bit smaller. But it does make the Modeler Spirit series this weird anomaly that doesn't really make much sense either, because they are bigger than that. And but one of the things I just love about them so much, and we'll get into it, is just how they feel sturdy. They are small and lightweight enough to where they don't buckle under their own joints, and they are super easy and fun to pose. And so I think in terms of like something that is complex but still quick to build, affordable, accessible, and has like a fun toy on the back end of it, this is one of the most ideal Zoids brand lineups out there. And I was actually pretty surprised by that when I got my hands on these. I really didn't know what to think. They don't, supersede the HMMs or anything, or make them redundant, but it is a really nice brand, and I do recommend you guys pick up a few of these if you're even remotely curious. And if you also are somebody who is nostalgic about Zoids from the early 2000s, but you don't currently have a collection, like at all, you haven't been buying HMMs for the past decade or whatever, this would be a great, great, great line to start with. So the line has several kits already in circulation, and there's several more on the way. Currently, we have a Blade Liger, a Genosaur, the Command Wolf, the Hellcat, as we see right here. And they have the Saber Tiger Shoebolt Special, which is very interesting considering it is a licensed anime character kit, which we do not have access to in the HMM line anymore. It's also a variant of the Saber Tiger that is highly sought after for its HMM version and its motorized version. So to see a new interpretation of that is just awesome. There's also a Mulga, and there is a few more on the way. There's a regular Saber Tiger on the way, I believe. There is one of the most crazy ones to think about is that there is a Trinity Liger on the way, which I have pre-ordered. So the fact that this line is the first time we've ever gotten a proper model for the Trinity Liger is incredible to me, because the Trinity Liger was a video game exclusive Zoid that appeared in the Zoids Saga/Legacy series, and it also appeared in Zoids Battle Legends Zoids Versus 2. And so the fact that we're getting a model kit of that, even though it's 1/100th scale and doesn't scale well with any of the other previous lines, it's only going to scale with this line. It's still really, really cool that we're getting that, and I do have that on pre-order. So let's go ahead and talk about the Hellcat here. So this is also the first This is the first new interpretation of the Hellcat slash Attack Cat since the 80s. So the Attack Cat was originally released in the 1983 Takara Tomy line, and was a wind-up kit, one of the smaller size wind-up kits, and it was one of the, in terms of the battle story lore, was one of the workhorse Zoids for the Xenobus Empire, and it was primarily used for reconnaissance, scouting, and ambush tactics, and they would often be deployed in small groups so they could better help cover each other. This was a good offensive Zoid. It has lots of mobility and close-up quarters capabilities. It doesn't have a great variety of weapon armaments that it can equip, unfortunately. And I always liked to envision the Hellcat as a nice parallel to the Republic's Command Wolf. But in reality, it doesn't really shake up that way. The Command Wolf is quite a bit bigger, has a lot more variety in terms of firepower. And I do kind of like, I guess, in concept, the idea that the war between the Helic Republic and the Xenobus Empire was asymmetrical, where they didn't have a perfect analog to the Command Wolf, and then the Republic did not have a perfect analog to the Saber Tiger, and got their asses thoroughly handed to them by the Saber Tiger for a long time, until they were able to reverse engineer the Saber Tiger into the Shield Liger. But this is a really, really cool Zoid. We see it very sparingly in the Chaotic Century anime, where it's not shown early on very much. I think it may not even be until Guardian Force, if I'm not mistaken, where there's an episode about the characters getting ambushed in the jungle by a group of Hellcats that have cloaking systems. I'm not exactly sure what part of the series that takes place in, but you can see here on the wonderful box art, which I'll go ahead and try to show off, that there's a depiction of the cloaking system working there. Really, really cool box art for these kits as well. Very happy, but these are nice small boxes as well. And to kind of talk about the kit a little bit more, it comes with a nice stand, so we get to do these really cool dynamic poses like this, which I think are just so cool. I'm going to go ahead and take it off the stand now so we can set it down on its own legs and compare it to the original, and I'll go ahead and show off some of the articulation here. So you can move these joints. It has these weird snap-in ball joint pieces for the legs, which are a little bit strange compared to how joints work on every other Zoids line. It's very action figure-y, but I actually like it quite a bit because I can feel like I can really play with this thing and move it around, and everything is nice and stiff and sturdy and doesn't feel like it's going to fall to pieces. And here's a brief comparison next to the 2002 Hasbro wind-up version of the Hellcat. And it's worth mentioning that this is specifically the color scheme for the Gylos Empire version. So both of these share the exact same color scheme. The red is a little bit darker, I think, on the new realized model version, and you can see the difference in size here. The difference in size is not that big of a deal when it comes to these two, because this was already kind of a small Zoid, but wait until I get my hands on the Blade Liger. I think it's going to matter quite a bit more when we get to that one. But some other comparisons as well. The original wind-up version, just in terms of the color scheme, has this sort of gunmetal gray color here, and then the dark red, and that's really about it. There's not a whole lot of variety really to break that up. Whereas the new version, if I can get the camera to focus here, has some black in there, and the specific color of the gunmetal gray is a lot more metallic and a lot nicer looking than you would think it would be. The camera does not want to focus on this guy at all, I guess because he's so small. And there is some enhanced detail in this version as well compared to the original wind-up version. So one of the things I love the most is the head, because the head on the original utilized this really signature old school Zoids head canopy like this that was seen on a lot of Zoids from the 80s era. It was also a signature design motif of like the Xenobus Empire and the early Zoids like that, where you just have the little piece of translucent plastic there that gives you access to the cockpit canopy where the pilot's located. And this one does maintain that, but it changes the sculpt of the helmet piece up here to look a lot more cat-like and really accentuate those ears and this brow up here, and I think it looks fantastic. But it still opens up the same way, still reveals a nice little molded pilot who is not painted. He's not blue this time, but he still looks pretty good. Um, the head does have it has a separate like neck joint down there, which is nice. So it moves around in a couple different pieces of articulation really, really nicely for some dynamic posing. And then the weapons look nicer as well. So the underslung cannons down here have quite a bit more detail than the wind-up version. They're also in a different color. So instead of being red, they are that gunmetal gray, and they match sort of the profile of the Zoid a lot better. And the cannon up here does move back and forth. I think there we go. It moves up and down a little bit. So you can get quite a bit of range of motion in there, especially if you're doing those dynamic leaping poses where you're articulating the waist on the stand. You need that gun to kind of flare out and come back like this. There's a lot you can do there. So definitely feels way more fun and way more sturdy in the hand than something like the old wind-up version or something like a larger scale HMM type Zoid would. So in short, I like these guys quite a bit. I highly, highly recommend them. I think that the build quality is excellent. I think that they are not... They scratch that itch, but they are not super complex to put together. They probably, this one took maybe about 2 hours, and you could probably get it done even faster than that if you weren't goofing off as much as I was. The last couple Zoids I built have taken forever because I've just been struggling to maintain a certain level of energy and consistent effort working on it. I'll get distracted, or I'll kind of lean back and daydream off and drift off my attention. And so if I was like hardcore focusing on it, like not stopping until it was done, it would probably be well under 2 hours to build this guy. And some of the pieces do make a lot of sense. I don't remember anything with this build that I thought was particularly frustrating. I thought it was pretty straightforward. And the ball joints for the shoulders and everything do make a lot of sense, and I think it does add to the articulation quite a bit. So if I could go back in time and didn't have the collection that I have right now, and I was starting my collection from scratch, I would absolutely collect all of these guys because they definitely appeal uniquely to me. You know, the build is fun, but it's not overly complex. It's not intimidating to start on one. You can finish it in an afternoon, no problem. And then they're just fun to play with because they have really, really nice articulation, build quality. They are small and lightweight, so there's not a lot of stress on the joints just from their own weight. Looking at you, Iron Kong Yeti, that I'm still afraid to build. And just the posability from that incredible range of articulation, I think, is just a really fun play feature that is really, really nice. So, yeah, I think that is about all I have to say about the Hellcat. I definitely recommend it. It is super, super cool to see a new iteration of the Zoid for the first time ever since the original. You know, this one from 2002, the wind-up one, is just a repaint from the one from Japan from 1983. So this was the same kit from 83 through 2002 through now, and this is the first and only ever time we've had a new iteration on this Zoid. So it's a wonderful modernization of it without losing a lot of what made the original appealing, and that is going to be a consistent through line with the rest of this product line. So I definitely recommend it. Pick up a few of these guys if you can. The stand is a really cool feature as well. It has a articulation point at the base and up the top there, so you can only pivot it this way. I wish it had one in the middle, but still is really nice that that is included. So yeah, I think these guys are awesome, and I definitely recommend it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.